I got the video late Saturday night, around 11. It popped up in my texts with no warning, just a shaky clip from our company holiday party 3 weeks back. I thought it was a joke at first, someone sharing old drunk office nonsense. But the second I hit play, I felt my stomach twist. Daniel Carter, my boss for 22 years, stood near the bar, scotch in one hand, laughing like he just closed the biggest deal of his life. Half the office was circled around him, most of them already tipsy. You could hear music in the background, someone off-screen coughing, glass clinking. Then he said it, clear as day. Mark my words, we're getting rid of Tom next month. Useless prick won't even see it coming. Laughter. A few people chuckled out loud. Others just looked away. No one said a word in my defense. Quick note, before we get too far, share which city or country you're watching from. I hit pause, rewound, watched it again and again. By the fifth time, my hands were shaking. I'd given over 2 decades of my life to that place. I was the guy who showed up early, stayed late, never made excuses. I covered for people, trained new hires, picked up the slack when others dropped the ball. And that's what I was to them, some useless prick they could toss out like garbage. The video came from Liam, one of the junior analysts I'd personally mentored for the past year. Kid had promise. Smart, hungry. I'd gone to bat for him more than once when management wanted to cut costs. His message was short, no emotion, no fluff. Figured you should see this before Monday. I stared at my phone for a solid minute. I couldn't even feel my legs under me. For a second, I thought maybe it was a joke. Maybe I'd missed some context. But no, Daniel's smirk said it all. He meant every damn word. And the people around him, they either laughed with him or stood there like cowards. I sat there on the couch in the dark, the glow of the TV still playing the last frame. Daniel's smug face frozen mid-toast. My jaw clenched. My fingers curled around the remote so tight it might have cracked. After everything I'd done, all the weekends missed, all the vacations cut short, that's how they talked about me? Fine. If they wanted me gone, they were getting their wish. But not the way they expected. Monday morning, I walked into the office like nothing happened. Suit pressed, coffee in hand, same old routine. No one looked up. No one acted strange. Just another day in the Carter and Feldman machine. Daniel saw me by the elevators. He gave me that usual smirk, the one that always felt half patronizing, like he knew something I didn't. Morning, Tom. Ready to crush it this month? I nodded, steady. Couldn't be more ready. He clapped my shoulder and walked off like he hadn't gutted me 3 weeks ago in front of half the firm. That was the moment I made the decision. I wasn't going to storm out or go full HR. I was going to burn it down the slow way, one brick at a time. The first week, I stayed late, showed up early, sat through meetings and offered ideas like I cared. If someone needed help, I volunteered. If a client had a question, I jumped in. I played the part better than I ever had. The second week, I started pulling files. My hands never shook. I knew exactly what I was looking for. Every contract I'd worked on, every billing report with my name on it, every project I led or fixed when someone else screwed it up. I didn't need to steal anything. I just needed copies, proof. I worked quiet, used my own laptop. No downloads on the network, nothing anyone could trace. I saved it all to an encrypted drive and locked it in my glove box at the end of every day. By the third week, I was already reaching out to old contacts. Just casual messages at first, touching base. How's business? Still working with Carter and Feldman? The usual warm-up. Some were polite, some were cold. But the ones that responded warmly, those were the ones I kept in rotation. One of them was Richard Browning, CEO of Tilden Grove Logistics. We'd worked together for years. I'd saved his ass during a bad contract review 2 summers ago. He always said he owed me. I was about to find out if he meant it. Liam kept stopping by my desk with fake questions about spreadsheets, but I knew he was checking in. He'd been weirdly quiet since sending me that video. You good? He asked one afternoon. Never better, I said. Busy month. He didn't push. He just nodded and walked off. Week 4, I booked a private meeting room downstairs. One of the old ones no one used anymore. Brought my files, my laptop, and a list of clients I'd had real influence over. I laid everything out like I was prepping for trial. I didn't hate the company. I didn't even hate most of the people. But I knew what I was worth, and the way they laughed in that video, that told me everything I needed to know. They thought I was too loyal, too blind, too slow to catch on. They weren't wrong about the loyalty. That part was real. But they were dead wrong about the rest. The next day, I reached out to a business attorney named Brenda Klein. She wasn't flashy, but she was sharp. Contract law, non-competes, all of it. We met in her downtown office over lunch, and I laid it out straight. I'm planning an exit. Quiet, legal, clean. I'm not stealing. I'm not copying proprietary stuff. Just taking what's mine. She nodded, flipping through the notes I'd brought. As long as you're not downloading internal databases or client files directly from the company's servers, you're fine. Your relationships, your knowledge, that's yours. Keep it clean, and they won't have a leg to stand on. Good, I said, because I'm about to walk out with a third of their revenue. After that, I made the call I'd been holding back on for 2 years. Morgan and Hall. They were Carter and Feldman's biggest competitor, and they'd been sniffing around for a while. Casual LinkedIn messages, the occasional invitation to connect at conferences. I always turned them down. Loyalty, right? Not anymore. I set up lunch with Nathan Hall himself, one of the named partners. We met at a steakhouse halfway between both firms. I showed up early, had the folder on the table before he even sat down. He looked me over and smiled. Been waiting for this call. I'm not here to waste your time, I said. I've got 6 accounts lined up, active clients, all tied to me personally. I was the lead on everyone. They're loyal to results, not logos. I slid the folder over. Inside was a breakdown. Revenue per client, service history, weaknesses Carter and Feldman kept ignoring. I didn't include a single private document. It was all off memory, handwritten notes, public contract terms. Nathan flipped through a few pages. Jesus, he muttered. Then he looked at me. Tom, we're ready when you are. I didn't smile. I wasn't in it for praise. Not yet, I said. I still work there. Timing matters. I want it to hurt. Back at the office, Daniel was riding high, still cracking jokes in meetings, still talking over people, still throwing out that fake charm like he wasn't about to get wrecked. I sat across from him in a strategy meeting 2 days later. He was pitching some new client funnel, all buzzwords and ego. Everyone nodded like sheep. I nodded too. Meanwhile, under the table, I was drafting an outline. Dates, contacts, rollout timing. Every client I planned to take had a renewal window coming up in the next 60 days. All I had to do was keep them warm, time it right, and flip the switch once I was out. I didn't need to sabotage anything. Carter and Feldman had been doing that on their own for years. Bad service, late responses, ignored feedback. Clients stayed because I kept things smooth. But once I left, there'd be no reason for them to stick around. The next week, I told Brenda the final plan. She gave me a nod of approval. You've covered your ass. Just stick to your script. I did. Every move was deliberate. I let Daniel talk. Let him make the rounds, strut like a damn rooster. He didn't know I was 3 feet behind him with a match in my hand and a trail of gas already poured. I built my exit around one simple idea. When I go, the revenue follows. By Thursday, everything was in place. The files were done, the clients were warmed up, and Morgan and Hall was on standby. All I needed was the final push. At 12:07 p.m., it came. Subject: meeting. Daniel Carter's office. Time: 3:30 p.m. No explanation, just the invite. I didn't need one. I kept my face calm all afternoon, answered emails, finished a quarterly review, even cracked a joke with Sheila in accounting like it was any other day. But when 3:25 hit, I stood up, straightened my cuffs, and walked the long way around the floor to make sure everyone saw me headed to Daniel's office. He was waiting when I walked in, sitting behind his glass desk like a damn king. HR was already in the corner. Michelle, expression flat, folder in her lap. Classic setup. I sat down without a word. Daniel looked at me for a second too long, like he was waiting for me to speak first. Then he cleared his throat. Tom, thanks for coming in. Michelle started reading from the paper in front of her. Tom, due to company restructuring and a shift in departmental needs, your position is being phased out, effective immediately. You'll receive a severance package, which we've outlined in this folder. I held up a hand. I understand. Michelle blinked. Daniel looked caught off guard, like I'd skipped a whole scene he'd been rehearsing. I took the folder and skimmed it quickly. The numbers were fine. Better than I expected, honestly. Probably to keep me quiet. Daniel shifted in his chair. You've been with us a long time, Tom. This isn't personal. I looked him dead in the eye. Didn't say it was. He gave me a weak smile, the kind you use when someone's dog dies. Still, we appreciate everything you've done here. I smiled right back. Just one question. This decision's final, yeah? He nodded slowly. Yes, it's final. Perfect. I stood, folder in hand. Michelle opened her mouth like she was going to walk me out, but I was already halfway to the door. I didn't slam it. I didn't say a word to anyone. Just walked back to my desk, grabbed my mug and the photo of my wife off the shelf, and walked straight to the elevator. 30 seconds after the doors closed, I exhaled for the first time all day. Daniel thought he'd pulled off some power move, cut me out without a fight, without a scene. He had no idea what he'd just done. I got home around 5, dropped the severance folder on the counter, poured myself a whiskey, and sat down at the kitchen table with my laptop. Didn't even hesitate. I pulled up Richard Browning's contact and typed out the email like I'd written it 100 times in my head. Calm, professional, direct. Subject, quick note, consulting availability. Body, hey Richard, just a heads up. I'm no longer with Carter and Feldman as of today. If you ever find yourself needing independent consulting or strategic support, I'm open to conversations. Hope all is well. Short, polite. Not a single line they could call poaching. I hit send, took a sip of whiskey, and stared out the window. The silence felt good. By morning, my phone lit up at 8:42. Daniel Carter. I let it ring. He called again at 9:17. Again at 9:38. I put the phone on silent. At 10:02, I got the first text from Liam. Liam, Richard just pulled out. Full cancellation. No warning. Daniel's losing it. At 10:15, I got a second one. Liam, now Horizon Group is backing out too. They've been trying to reach you directly. I smiled and took another sip of coffee. By noon, it was 3 clients gone. Gone in a matter of hours. Not because I begged, not because I threatened. I just let them know I was free. That's all it took. By 12:31, Daniel finally called again. I let it ring. He called back. Then again. On the 4th one, I picked up. Tom, he said. No fake cheer this time. His voice was tight, almost panicked. Can we talk? I didn't say anything. He rushed on. Richard pulled out. No heads up, no grace period. What's going on? Did you reach out to him? I leaned back in my chair, phone to my ear. I did. Why? What? Why would you do that? I didn't raise my voice. Didn't swear. Just said it flat. You called me a worthless prick in front of the whole firm. Now you need my help? He went quiet. I let the silence drag a bit before continuing. You humiliated me, Daniel. Smiled while you did it. Fired me like I was dead weight. Now you're surprised I'm not running to save your ass? You know it wasn't personal, he said quickly. It was a business decision. No, I cut in. This is business. You made yours. Now I'm making mine. Another pause. I could hear background noise. Muffled voices, doors opening and closing. He wasn't in control anymore, and we both knew it. Look, he said finally. Just, can we meet? Talk this through? No, Tom. I said no. Then I hung up. A minute later, Liam texted again. Liam, he looks like he's gonna throw up. You shook him. I stared at that message for a second. Not because I needed the validation, but because it proved what I already knew. The second I walked out that door, I stopped being the guy they overlooked. Now, I was the guy they couldn't outrun. I shut off my phone, changed shirts, and drove across town to Morgan and Hall. No music, no calls. Just the hum of the engine and the weight of 22 years riding shotgun. Their offices were clean. Glass walls, polished wood, no fluff. Every hallway felt like it had a purpose. A receptionist greeted me by name and told me Nathan Hall would be right out. He didn't send an assistant, didn't keep me waiting. The man met me himself at the entrance to the conference wing. Tom, he said, shaking my hand, you come with intel? I came with more than that. We walked into a private meeting room. Modern, quiet, no distractions. I set my folder on the table and slid it across like I was delivering blueprints. Everything you need to gut Carter and Feldman in under 6 months, I said. He opened it and started flipping through. Client renewal schedules, pricing models they hadn't updated in years, client service gaps they never fixed. I'd broken it down by quarter, account, and vulnerability. Nathan didn't speak for a while. just nodded slowly as he scanned the first few pages. Then he closed it. "You're not looking for a job," he said. "You want to level the playing field." I looked him in the eye. "No, I want to level him." Nathan smiled. Not wide, not giddy. Just that calm, knowing smile a man gives when he sees a checkmate forming. "I'll give it to you straight," he said. "We've wanted those accounts for years, but we couldn't touch them. You were the reason they stayed." "I still am." He sat back, thinking. "You bring them over, just the ones in this folder, and you'd be worth more than a dozen senior associates." I didn't say anything. I didn't have to. Finally, he leaned forward. "Senior partner, commission on every client you bring in. Direct involvement in firm strategy. What about autonomy? You call your shots. No micromanaging." I nodded once. "Deal." We shook hands. No contracts, no drawn out back and forth. We both knew what this was. Mutual leverage wrapped in precision. Then I reached into my jacket pocket and pulled out a thumb drive. "This isn't stolen," I said. "It's original content. My own research, my own notes. It maps exactly how to take each account without crossing a legal line." He took it, turned it in his fingers like a loaded shell. "You've been planning this a while." They gave me the time. We stood. He walked me to the elevator himself. "I don't expect loyalty," Nathan said before the doors closed. "But I do expect results." "You'll get both," I said. "Carter and Feldman won't recover from this." As I rode down, I checked my phone. 4 missed calls, 2 voicemails, all from Daniel. I didn't bother listening. While he scrambled to hold the walls up, I'd already walked through the front door of his competition, handed them the keys, and locked him out. Monday morning, I woke up early, brewed coffee, watched the sun break over the skyline. It was quiet, clean, controlled. Across town, Carter and Feldman was already in flames. By 8:15 a.m., the first text hit. "Liam. 3 more clients just pulled out. It's a bloodbath." I took a sip of coffee and scrolled through the rest. 1 client left overnight. Another pulled their upcoming renewal, and a third canceled mid-contract, paying the penalty just to leave. I didn't call anyone. I didn't respond. I just watched the inbox melt down from a distance. Legal tried stepping in, but I'd timed everything down to the hour. The exits were staggered, the communications clean, the paper trails spotless. No 2 clients used the same excuse. No proof it was coordinated. Just nice bad luck stacking up fast. At 9:42, Liam again. "Liam, Daniel looks like a ghost. Mark's locked in finance trying to stop the bleeding." "Liam, people are whispering. The interns look like they're about to cry." By 10:30, the board had called an emergency meeting. I had a contact in that room, a quiet friend in operations who owed me a few favors. She didn't say much, just 5 words in a text. "They're grilling the hell out of him." The pressure hit fast. The directors weren't idiots. They saw the numbers. These weren't random losses. These were the firm's core accounts, clients that had stuck around for years, until suddenly they didn't. I could picture it. Daniel pacing the boardroom, his smug confidence cracking, trying to spin it as restructuring fallout or bad timing. But no amount of spin was saving him now. At 11:15, someone finally said it out loud. "You fired the guy holding this place together." The room went dead quiet, according to the text I got. They'd ignored every red flag, every complaint. Let Daniel run the place like his personal playground. Now they were watching the floor fall out from under them. By lunch, panic had settled in. Finance couldn't balance the projections. Client services had no answers. Legal was rewriting NDAs in real time, trying to slow the exits. But it was already over. The damage was done. The accounts were gone. At 2:48 p.m., I got the final update from my source. Board vote just finished. Daniel's out. By 3 p.m., Daniel Carter was no longer CEO of Carter and Feldman. I stood from my desk, walked to the window, and watched the city roll by. Same streets I'd driven to that office for 2 decades. This time, I didn't feel small. I didn't feel expendable. 2 days later, just after lunch, my assistant knocked on the glass. She leaned in, eyes a little wide. "There's someone here asking to see you." I raised an eyebrow. "Client?" She hesitated. "No, it's Daniel Carter." I leaned back in my chair. Not surprised, not really. I just nodded. "Send him in." He walked in like the air weighed twice as much. No tie. Jacket wrinkled. His eyes were red-rimmed, like he hadn't slept in days. That sharp, cocky posture he always had, gone. His shoulders sagged. His hands were twitching at his sides. It took him a full 5 seconds to look me in the eye. "I need work," he said. That was it. No preamble, no explanation. Just the quiet desperation of a man who finally realized the ground was gone beneath him. I didn't say anything. I just looked at him. The same man who laughed behind my back, who fired me with a smirk like I was dead weight. Now, he couldn't even hold eye contact. "I've got no position right now," he said. "Nothing. They cut me loose with a lawyer and a box of crap from my office. I've called everyone. Nobody wants to touch me." Still, I said nothing. "I know what I did," he added, voice shaky. "I shouldn't have said what I said. I was blowing off steam, trying to be funny." "You weren't funny," I said flat. "You were cruel and stupid." He looked down. The silence was thick. You could hear the hum of the HVAC overhead and the buzz of the hallway beyond the glass. "I'm not asking for much," he mumbled. "Just a shot, something to get back on my feet." I stared at him. No anger in me, no satisfaction either, just cold clarity. "You don't need work, Daniel," I said. "You need humility." He blinked like I'd slapped him. "So that's it? That's it." I stood up, walked around the desk, and opened the door. He didn't move at first, just stood there, stunned, like he expected me to change my mind, like this was some performance and I was supposed to clap when it ended. But I didn't. I waited, hand on the door. He finally walked out, shoulders hunched, head low. I followed him down the hall. People turned as we passed, whispering. Some looked shocked, a few looked smug. I didn't care either way. At the front entrance I paused. "This is the part where you say thank you," I said. He didn't look back, just kept walking. I watched him step into the elevator alone. Then I turned and got back to work. The door clicked shut behind Daniel, and I sat back down at my desk. I didn't feel proud. I didn't feel guilty either. I felt done. By Friday morning, the internet took over. I didn't even have to look for it. The links flooded my inbox before I had a chance to pour my coffee. Exodus at Carter and Feldman. Senior exec defects to rival, takes clients with him. CEO ousted after mass client departure. Every headline said the same thing, just with different levels of heat. I leaned back in my chair, glass of bourbon in hand, and scrolled through the articles like they were movie reviews. Some called it a strategic coup. Others used words like meltdown and collapse. One even said Daniel had torched his own legacy. All I could think was, no, he didn't torch it. I just stopped holding up the walls. The skyline out my window looked sharper from this side of town. Cleaner, the office smelled like new paint and real leather. No more outdated beige walls. No more Daniel Carter breathing over my shoulder like he invented the business. Just work. Focused, clear, respected. At 11:06, my phone buzzed. Liam. They're selling off assets, slashing headcount. Mark's leaving finance. Liam. Daniel's name is toxic now. Nobody's taking his calls. I took another sip of bourbon and texted back. Me. Told you he wouldn't see it coming. He replied with a laughing emoji. I ignored it. Some things didn't need a punchline. I opened my laptop and clicked into our onboarding tracker. 2 of the 6 clients had already started paperwork. A third had requested a full proposal by Monday. We were ahead of schedule. I wasn't rushing it. This was the slow kill. Precise, intentional. I thought about the Christmas parties, the all-nighters, the weekends I gave up fixing Daniel's messes. 22 years. That's how long I kept my head down and played loyal. But loyalty's not a virtue if it only flows one way. Daniel used people. He collected favors like poker chips, then cashed them in without flinching. He built his name off our backs, mine more than most. And the second it suited him, he tried to cut me loose. What he never understood is, I wasn't just part of the company. I was the foundation, the glue, the reason things didn't fall apart sooner. All I did was stop fixing what he kept breaking. People call it revenge. I don't. Monday morning, I walked into Morgan and Hall as their newest partner. The place buzzed with energy. Clean lines, focused people, no dead weight dragging the place down. Nathan Hall was already in the lobby, coffee in hand, suit crisp. He extended his hand. We have already seen movement on 3 of the 6 clients you targeted. I shook his hand. They'll all be here within 6 months. He raised an eyebrow. You don't want to slow down a bit? Take a breath? I looked around. The glass offices, the soft hum of quiet efficiency, the absence of chaos. It felt like stepping into the life I should have had 10 years ago. Nope, I said. Feels good to move at my own pace for once. We walked to my new office. Corner view, high floors, everything Daniel swore I'd never deserve. I didn't gloat. I didn't need to. The results were already speaking louder than I ever could. That night, I sat on my balcony, cigar in one hand, whiskey in the other. The air was cool. The city lights blinked below, like a scoreboard I'd finally flipped in my favor. 22 years. That's how long I'd been overlooked, stepped on, taken for granted. All it took was one video to remind me who I really was. I wasn't just some senior manager, wasn't just another name in the org chart. I was the backbone, the one who held it all together, while others played games with power and politics.